Hi, everybody. This is Edgar Winter. Don't go anywhere. Profiles will be coming right up.
Welcome to Profiles. I'm Jeanette Eng. Today's guest is music legend Edgar Winter. A child prodigy who attained international success at a young age, Edgar has found an audience in every major entertainment medium, from film to television to music. A prolific writer, Edgar's music encompasses many different genres, from rock to pop to jazz to blues. After a short break, we'll join our host Mickey Burns as he welcomes musical great Edgar Winter to Profiles. Welcome back to Profiles. In the early 70s, Edgar formed the Edgar Winter Group. The legendary band created such hits as the #1 Frankenstein and the ever-popular Free Ride. Edgar has always been a musical innovator. He was the first artist to feature a synthesizer as the main instrument in a song. Frankenstein revolutionized rock and roll and opened up a whole new world of possibilities with experimentation and sound. So let's join our host Mickey Burns on location at Ashford & Simpson Sugar Bar in the heart of New York City as he welcomes the talented Edgar Winter to Profiles.
Edgar Winter, welcome to our show Profiles.
Hey, thank you, Mickey. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to meet you.
Hello, New York.
Sure. For our viewers, you are a legendary rocker and have been for many years, but you're currently making a stop here in New York as a key member of Ringo Starr and his all-star band.
That's correct.
Tell us about the experience and how is the tour going?
I stand in awe of the Beatles. First of all, I think what they did really transcended music. It meant so much to me when Ringo invited me to be a part of that history. I feel that he is really carrying on that spirit that the Beatles, came to represent. And I, being an old hippie myself, Ringo is really a heartfelt advocate and spokesman for peace and love. Yes, and I played Woodstock back in '69 with my brother Johnny, right here in upstate New York.
You sure did.
And that was when music really meant something. And it's just an honor and a privilege to have the opportunity to perform with Ringo. But beyond that, beyond just the music, is Ringo himself. The thing that's so cool about it is that you never know what it's going to be like when you get a group of musicians all with their individual careers.
Right.
But in this case, everybody really checks their ego at the door, and we're there because we really love to be a part of it. I mean, and everybody, I wake up every day and I say, wow, I'm going to be on stage with Ringo, one of the Beatles. It's just such a kick. He does a lot of the Beatles songs and a lot of his solo songs that he's made famous over the years. And then, how would I ever have imagined that like one of my classic hits like Free Ride, that I'd ever be playing that and I would look back over my shoulder and see Ringo Starr playing the drums.
So what a thrill feat for
thing.
you. Now, you had mentioned briefly that you participated in the first Woodstock, the original Woodstock.
Yes, I did.
What are your best memories of that experience?
Well, it really changed my life. Up to that point, I had started out, I grew up in Texas.
Yeah.
I was born in Beaumont, Texas. My brother Johnny and I started out as kids, playing ukulele, singing Everly Brothers songs. And up to that point, music for me had been more internalized. It was more of my private sort of dream world that I could escape into. Yeah. But when I played Woodstock, I realized that there was so much more to it. With civil rights and the peace movement, seeing people come together, I really think of that time when I performed with Ringo, because I think the Beatles were really instrumental in bringing a lot of that about.
For those who may not be familiar, how would you describe your music and style over the past 35 years?
it pretty much defies description. I've always considered myself something of a musical rebel, and which ties into the title of my latest CD, Rebel Road. I think I'm generally perceived as a Southern blues rocker. Coming from Texas.
Right.
Also, there's a definite identification with synthesizer. I was the first person to have the idea of putting a strap on the keyboard, and rock and roll is always focused on guitar. And being a keyboard player, I got really frustrated being stuck behind a big, massive bank of keyboards and having to be here, and here's the mic, and you've got pedals, and you can't move, and nobody can see what you're doing, and say, why do these guitar players get to have all the fun? I want to get out here and boogie. So I was looking at these new synthesizers in the music store one day, and I said, wow, this thing looks like you could just put a strap on it and play it.
And you did.
So I was the first person, to do that.
Yeah.
And as they say, the rest is history.
Sure.
And then I had a song which was called Frankenstein, which was the first song to feature the synthesizer as a lead instrument. And synthesizer at that time, it was a very controversial thing, and it was like a lot of people felt like it was dehumanizing music. My whole take on it was, here's a new instrument. Let's see what new and never before heard sounds we can create with this instrument. And that was how Frankenstein came about.
Over the course of those 35 years, have your musical interest changed much over the course of your career?
Probably in the eyes of the public, one might think that. But part of what my career has been about, as I had mentioned before, I think I'm generally perceived as a rocker, but I love jazz and classical and country as well. And part of what my whole career has been about throughout all of these years is to try to broaden musical horizons and make people aware of all the music that's out there. I've always just prided myself in playing all styles of music, and it may have made it a little confusing for some of my fans out there. The record companies in particular, they want you to do one thing so they can more or less target an audience. They want you to be a rock guy or a blues guy, and I've always flown in the face of that. I've always defied that, and I just felt that you should play the music that means something to you, that comes from your heart, and then let the rest of it take its natural course.
Good. Speaking of fans, how have your audiences evolved over the last 3 or 4 decades?
Well, I've had a very wonderful experience with fans in general in the shows that we've played. I always encourage people to come visit us at edgarwinter.com, where they can learn more about who I am as a person and as an artist. It's something that I love. I love both aspects. I love creating in the studio, but live performance is nothing like that exhilarating feeling of doing what I most love and what I would be doing anyway. Where regardless of whether I was getting paid for it, I'd be playing. And it's just something that I never intend to retire from. You'll never be hearing Edgar Winter talk about a farewell tour. I come from that old, the old blues man mentality of I'll be 80 or 90 years old. I'll still be out there on stage.
Still going to be doing it.
Keep doing what you've been told. Save your money.